Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel. I'm Mike Catalana. We thank you for being with us. Make sure to subscribe, like, and comment to the channel as we continue to try to give you content on the Bills during this season, and especially for this week as they take on the Washington football team. And as we look ahead to the game on Sunday, there are 5 players on the Bills that I'm focused on. And a lot of times when we talk about these players, we'll look for a player maybe that's off the radar a bit, kind of player that can contribute and make a play for them. That's not what I'm doing this week, because after 2 different games of seeing the Bills, we've seen outstanding defense, choppy offense, we've seen special teams issues, all those things. So we can look at the star players as we get to this. And in fact, I'm going to start with one. And what I want to have an eye on this week is Stefan Diggs. Diggs obviously is coming off a spectacular year. He was as good or better than every wide receiver in the NFL a year ago. He's not off to that kind of start. Look, we've heard a lot about what's going on with Josh Allen, and blame maybe there, offensive line, all these other things. But we haven't seen the Diggs of 2020 yet either. So where do you want to put that? Do you want to put it on Diggs? Do you want to put it on play calling? Do you want to put it on Josh Allen? Do you want to put it on the line? But let's start with Diggs. He did make one really nice catch down the sidelines when he basically bailed Josh Allen out. But what we haven't seen from Stefan is that separation, right? He has not been getting the ball. I mean, let's face it, when you watched him a year ago, he got himself wide open. He's one of the great route runners in the NFL, but we really haven't gotten an opportunity to see that. That's not what he's been able to do so far this year. Has he been good? Sure. He's a really good player. Has he been a positive influence, a guy unlike what we had heard, at least talked about before coming to the Bills from Minnesota? No, he's not that guy. He has been team guy. In fact, Allen talks about Diggs as being one of the guys that helps him snap out of things when he gets in his own ruts. So I'm looking for Diggs to have one of those games. And I think this is an opportunity for him to do it against Washington. It's funny, as we talk about what the Bills have not done offensively in Washington, they're talking about how this defense just hasn't been that good. And they gave William Jackson a bunch of money in the offseason to try to be their number one corner, and he struggled. And, they have gone up against the Chargers, but then, they went against Daniel Jones and the Giants. And honestly, Daniel Jones really beat up this Washington team. And if it wasn't for an offside call late in the game on the field goal attempt, Washington would be coming into Orchard Park at 0-2. So they've had their own issues. I don't think there's anybody on Washington that can cover Diggs. And I think Diggs is the kind of guy that can help Allen bust out here a little bit. So, look, great player. He will put up numbers. It's what happens in this league. But I'm watching 14 this week. I'm watching to see if Stefan Diggs takes that step and gets himself back into the form we got so accustomed to seeing. Well, let's just talk Josh Allen as the second guy. There's been a lot of talk about it. And I even have fans, and probably some of you are going to comment here and say, Josh will be fine. Josh will be fine. Sure. And then some will say, oh, come on. It's not about this. It's not about that. Look, he has not been the same guy. It's not all on him. I just said the same about Diggs. It's not all on Allen, but he's even talked about getting in his own head. I talked to Brian Daboll this week and asked him specifically, is Josh being his own worst critic actually a negative for him? Because he's too hard on himself. And he sort of smiled, Daboll did, and he said, I was just upstairs talking to him. Gave us a little insight here. I was just upstairs talking to him, and Josh is sort of, and he says, I'm not going to call it despondent look, but, I know what he meant. He didn't say Josh Allen is despondent about his play, but he was sort of saying down and questioning himself. And by that, I look at this for Allen as it's both a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing because not every high-level football player or athlete in general is that self-critical and will really look at what they do wrong as much. And that's why some only go to here and they don't go to here, right? The best ones are self-critical. But there is a point you can beat yourself up a little bit. And if you look at last week's game, they won 35-0. But Daboll even said things like, well, Josh helped us in other ways. That's great. Josh Allen's too good to get those kind of compliments. It's great when a wide receiver can block downfield, and that's important. But let's be honest, you're paying the guy to catch the ball and make plays. The blocking is part of it. Josh, with good play fakes, or Josh with moving the protections, that's all great. We need, if you're the Bills, Josh Allen to be Josh Allen. I think it's coming. I think it's coming, and it may very well come this week. And I just mentioned Diggs, maybe between the two of them. Love to see him hit on a big play. But I will tell you, the thing I saw in that Washington game, I almost said it, Washington game against the Giants, is Daniel Jones beat him with his legs. He absolutely did. I know they didn't win the game, but he beat their defense with his legs, and he made some plays. And, Josh Allen can do that too. It's funny. I hear him talk about Daniel Jones, and it's like he's a better athlete than people. Please. We all know what that is, right? I mean, he's the white guy quarterback. Let's be honest, is what he is. So they think he can't do that. Josh doesn't get any of that. Josh is a supreme athlete, and I think everybody has gotten to see it. And he can run. And I think he'll do that. And I think he'll do it well in this game. And I'm not always talking about these design sweeps. I'm talking about part of what we said with Josh is take what's given to you. Well, when that opens up, when that coverage drops back and they're trying to take away the deep ball from him, take off, slide, get your first down, move on. And if you get a chance, make a couple of moves, get out of bounds. I'm not talking about him taking hits. I'm not talking about the RPOs or the sweeps. I'm talking about Josh Allen taking advantage of coverages and taking off after he doesn't see what he likes and picking up big ground. I think he's going to do it this week. I think he's going to use his legs. I mean, he's done that too, but I think he's going to use his legs this week. So I want to see if that can spur the Bills offense on to open up the other stuff, right? Take what's given to you early. If they're giving you the short, take it. If they're giving you the outs, take it. And then when the time comes, much like we saw Aaron Rodgers do Monday night against Detroit, where he took what was there, and then took what he wanted after that. And that's what I want to see out of Josh Allen. Well, to help him out, he's going to need help on the offensive line. So I'm going to put these two guys together. I'm talking about Dion on the left side and Daryl Williams on the right side, because Washington's strength on that D line is their ends, Montez Sweat, and then, of course, Chase Young. And Chase Young's a great football player, unblockable at times last year. He's off to a rough start. He hasn't given them what they're hoping for. Again, if you're in Washington, he's really been your star. Let's see what he can do. And so they'll flip him. They will flip those ends. They will get him on either side. So that's why I bring up both Williams and Dion. And Dion looked a little better. I mean, he struggled in that Pittsburgh game. So did the whole line. I think Dion is getting his health back. I think he's getting more to be the Dion we've seen in the past. And, Daryl Williams has been Daryl Williams. He's steady. He's a good player. He could use some help on that side a lot of times on the line, but I'm talking about guys with speed and power like both Sweat and Young, who are also looking for their breakout game. So the Bills tackles, obviously it goes without saying the tackles are important to doing things in your offense, but I want to see how they hold up, because I'll put it to you this way. If Washington can't get pressure with their D-line in this game, Allen is going to pick them apart, because as I said in the beginning, they don't have the secondary. Speaking of secondary, how about Trey White? Because both of the other corners, Dane Jackson and Levi Wallace, both dealing with some injuries. And the reason I'm talking about Trey is because they've got Terry McLaurin, and that wide receiver, I'm telling you, I think he is one of the most underrated players in the NFL. He's playing with Taylor Heinecke now, and I know Taylor Heinecke has been a big story because he's that guy, right? He's trying to show he can be a starter in the NFL, and he's got all the enthusiasm. He's got all those things going for him. But come on, it's Taylor Heinecke, and even Ryan Fitzpatrick, and even Alex Smith and Colt McCoy. I mean, throw whoever they've thrown out there. This guy has played with mediocre talent at best at quarterback, and he makes plays. He's one of those guys. McDermott would love him. He's got the chip on the shoulder play-wise. Everything we've heard out of DC, awesome guy, great teammate, but he's better than his draft position. He's better than the way people perceive him. I think he's definitely a number one guy in this league. So I want to see what Trey White can do with him. Look, they're going to move him around. The Bills don't do a lot of just travel with a wideout, but he's going to get matched up on him. And this is where you want to see Trey make a play. Even in the Pittsburgh game, White had an interception, but it got called back as a hold, marginal call. But that was big. And then he got beat on the Chase Claypool play down the left side. Now, like, Miami didn't do anything against the Bills secondary. One, because their offense stinks, and two, because I mean, I guess they got Tua out of the game, and then the game became a runaway. But and the Bills' defensive line, front seven, was dominant. You get that against Washington, and Trey's going to have a good day. But I think he's the kind of guy you take McLaren out of their offense, or at least limit him. I think you're going to be in pretty good shape. And then I want to see the rookie again, Greg Rousseau. And I know he had the couple of sacks. We've talked about it here that AJ Epinesa probably had a better game, didn't get credit for the stats because Epinesa was great. But I want to see how Rousseau follows this up too. It's good to put up numbers, but every player will tell you, sacks are great. But if you can get constant pressure, the other will come. I think it was even Epinesa who said that pressures lead to sacks, which is true. But, I want to see Rousseau show he can do it week in, week out. He's showing up big time on scouting reports now, right? You put up the numbers. It's what everybody's saying. It's what they're saying in the meetings in Washington. Watch for this kid, number 50. He's got speed. He's got a motor, all those things. So their eyes are on him. Heinecke's looking for him. It's great. If he becomes that guy that the quarterback starts at the line of scrimmage and looks where he is, man, you will be thrilled in Buffalo. But the question is, can he do it again when eyes are on him and he's making plays? Thought he was okay in the Pittsburgh game. I thought he was good in the Miami game and got the stats to go with it. But I want to see how Rousseau does against a Washington offensive line that can be beaten. There's no question. When I look at this Washington team, thought of to be one of the best defenses in the league and a competent offense. They can run the ball pretty well. Again, McLaren, they thought they were going to have Fitz, and now it's Heinecke. But they're a 2017 Bills team to me. Well coached, trying to find their identity, mediocre quarterback play, a couple of guys that can make plays for you, and they can stay in most games. They do play up and down to the level of their competition, and they're in the NFC East, so they can play down because, it's not a great division. But they played the Chargers tough. Last year, they played Tampa tough in the playoffs, actually gave them a really good game. So I think it's a good matchup for the Bills to see, but the Bills are the better team. Our predictions are here on the Buffalo Plus YouTube page, but I have the Bills winning the game 28-19. I think they're the better team, and I hope you enjoy what we try to bring to you, the 5 matchups. Guys, you keep an eye on. I know you'd be watching them anyhow, but reasons why to keep an eye on those players heading into the game. Again, thanks for being with us. Make sure you subscribe, like, comment. We will get back to you. Oh, and remember, every Thursday night, we're live here on the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel with Buffalo Plus Live, myself, Jenna Cottrell, and Dan Fates. Look for all of our post game from Orchard Park on Sunday and content all week long here on the channel. Thanks for being with us. I'm Mike Catalana. Enjoy the game coming up on Sunday.